Now, shares in big tech have soared this year, linked to optimism over artificial intelligence and AI's hungry for energy. Data centers are projected to burn through electricity equivalent to the consumption of Japan by 2026. And to meet this demand, Amazon recently announced a $500 million investment with a nuclear partner to build advanced modular reactors in Washington state. In fact, X-Energy is already developing the United States' first plant of this kind for Dow Chemicals in Texas. Our business reporter David Waddell met with the company's chief executive and began by asking him why nuclear.
They need really two things. They need power 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, that's highly reliable. And secondly, they are focused on and have made commitments to reduce their carbon emissions. Those two needs have led them to nuclear power.
You're building these plants for Dow and for Amazon, others envisaged for the UK. How do you see them contributing not just to industrial needs but to national energy security in these regions?
These plants are unique in that they're excellent at producing electricity. They're also excellent at producing very high temperature steam. Almost 20% of the world's carbon emissions come from industrial processes involving steam. And so nuclear represents a very clean way to decarbonize those processes. And we see that as a very unique opportunity, particularly in the Teesside region around Hartlepool, where there's a strong concentration of industrial steam users. We see a unique opportunity to contribute to decarbonization in the UK.
Many of our viewers will be mindful of what happened at Chernobyl, at Fukushima, at Windscale here in the UK. How do you reassure an anxious segment of the public?
This reactor is meltdown proof. It's physically impossible for the reactor to melt down. And it starts with a very unique fuel form that we use called a trisopebble, and it has the uranium encapsulated in layers of ceramic and graphite that ensure that it cannot melt at any temperature that it would see during the reactor performance.
I'm sure you would forgive many viewers for still being suspicious despite the technology you demonstrate, because they've seen these disasters elsewhere of plants that were supposedly safe in their time.
Nuclear power is the safest form of generation that's ever been deployed at scale around the world, including Chernobyl, including Fukushima. Nuclear has its challenges. It's more difficult to build. It's more capital intensive to build, but once you get it operating, it's extraordinarily safe and it provides incredibly reliable power for many, many decades.
What are the biggest barriers to advancing nuclear power as a bigger feature of the energy supply mix?
We have to get the supply chain to scale as quickly as possible. And that's one of the great opportunities that we have at X-Energy. We're working with Amazon, who is committed to deploy up to 64 of our XE100 reactors just in the next 15 years. So that creates an opportunity for us to work with the supply chain, to grow, to learn, to replicate, and to get these projects built in the coming decade.
What about nuclear waste? This is a big challenge, isn't it? How to handle that waste that needs to be stored somewhere safely for thousands of years.
It will stay on site at the plant in an area about the size of a basketball court, and then at the end of life, the government takes possession of the fuel and will put it in a deep geologic repository for the rest of time.
You're a former Deputy Secretary of Energy in the Bush administration. With the new Trump administration coming in, what are your thoughts on his energy security plans?
The incoming president has been strongly committed to a philosophy that he calls energy dominance. That's often associated with his focus on fossil fuels, but the former president and our future president has also been a very, very strong supporter of nuclear power. As the previous Biden administration was, we expect the policy to continue in a bipartisan format to support continued expansion of nuclear power.